Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Commissioner. I'm your host, Commissioner Jeff Fig Newton, and we're happy to have you with us today. Today we'll have coffee with Operation Iron Ruck Coordinator, Mr. Drew Lufkin, to talk about his service, Operation Iron Ruck. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we had at Veterans Day just a few days ago. So look forward to that. So what's brewing at the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs? I'm glad you asked. Several things going on. We've got a quick update for you on the Alabama Veterans Resource Center. A lot of people have been asking questions about the progress with that center. The foundation was formed, the Alabama Veterans Resource Foundation was formed, and they are moving quickly. We are about to hire the executive director for the new center in the very near future. We're also looking at some different platforms that we're going to be able to use to help veterans find resources throughout the area. Our goal is to have a couple of our veteran service officers there to help our veterans with their claims. I've also mentioned in the past that we're also looking at possibly having some veterans mental health coordinators there. Perhaps we haven't really gotten that discussion yet, but it's a lot of good resources for our veterans when they leave this military service and beyond. So as I mentioned before, that transition between military service and the civilian community, the civilian service, is key to get that right. We've got to get that transition correct if our veterans are going to succeed into the future. So this is what this center is all about. It's all about helping our veterans get through that transition period and into a solid foundation going into their civilian career. So that's what's happening with the Veterans Resource Center. We're also excited about our second cemetery up in North Alabama. We are about to start the environmental assessment and appraisal of some property that we're looking at up there. I've mentioned before in a previous podcast, it's 150 acres just a little east of Huntsville. 2 miles north of the Madison County High School. So things are moving quickly there, and once we get the green light to move forward to purchase the property, we're going to proceed with that. And then the next step is to get an architect and engineer to a company to design the new cemetery. So things are moving fast, and I try my best to keep our veterans up in North Alabama up to speed as to what's going on with that second cemetery, because it's very exciting to hear. It's a long time in coming, and when the community's been waiting for this, so we're excited about that. Also, we recently had a groundbreaking ceremony in Birmingham for the Tunnels to Towers Veterans Village that's coming. They're at the Shops of the Colonnade in the old Hilton Hotel there. They're going to convert that into 110 homeless veteran units. These are permanent units for our veterans, and that's an exciting part of taking care of our veterans that are homeless in the Birmingham area. And we hope in the future, and we'll try to talk to Tunnels to Towers, but we need to look at maybe Huntsville, Montgomery, and also Mobile as possible sites in the future. So that's something that I plan to do, and we're excited about Tunnels for Towers coming to our community, coming to the state of Alabama. We're all excited about that. And let's see, had a successful opening of the Colbert County Veteran Service Office up in the Tuscumbia, Alabama, on Veterans Day. We had a big ribbon cutting ceremony, and we're going to put a part-time veteran service officer up there working twice a week until we can determine and analyze if more time is needed. But we're excited about opening up our 62nd county office in the state. So now we've just got about 5 more counties we need to look at for the future to open up sometime in the future. But we're excited about having a veteran service officer in Colbert County. We're also looking at a second veteran service office in Shelby County, there in Pelham. And that's what we have currently brewing at the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs. Hey, now we'll welcome our guest for today's episode with Coffee with the Commissioner, Drew Lufkin. Drew Lufkin currently serves as the Operation Iron Ruck Coordinator, also known as OIR. As the OIR Coordinator, Drew is planning this year's ruck while also working to further the OIR mission in connecting with partnerships, veterans, and their families. He also spent 14 years as an Army Ranger and went on 4 combat tours with the United States Army. So welcome, Drew. It's good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. How are you?
Buddy. Have a seat. Well, Drew, proud that you're here, and thank you for taking the time to be a part of this Coffee with the Commissioner today. So you've got an incredible military background. Tell us about your service.
Well, it's a long and complicated story, as most of them are. I actually joined the Army. I originally joined the Army Reserve in July 2001, about 6 weeks after I graduated from high school, and then about 6 weeks after that, September 11th happened, and that really changed everything.
Yeah.
I ever remember growing up in high school and thinking, oh, we're never going to have to go to war or anything like that, and then that all changed that, and then I knew that I needed to go help. And I actually tried to go on active duty. My reserve unit wouldn't release me to go on active duty. And then I ended up, of all things, I ended up getting leukemia, and I was on chemo for 2.5 years. Wow. And then after that, after fighting with the military to get back on active duty, I went to Ranger Regiment in 2007. And so I went through infantry, basically most of basic training all over again. Went to airborne school, did your 5 jumps, and then I went to the Ranger Indoctrination Program, which is they call RIP. They changed it in 2009. It's now called the Ranger Assessment Selection Program. And so when I went through, it was a month long, and they basically just beat the tar out of you for a month, and whoever's left standing gets to go to Ranger Battalion.
So I'm curious. You mentioned having the sickness and then going right into a Ranger regiment. Tell us about that. What was your thought process of going into that? Because that's a tough school. Honestly.
When somebody tells you have cancer, and a lot of people out there have gone through this, is that it's the best way I can explain it is it kind of cuts off your thought process, like all your hopes and dreams and goals. It kind of stops, and then everything starts over again. And I spent a lot of time in the hospital. And my 3rd day in the hospital, I had this packet I had this packet that I got from our ROTC kid, and it had all the Army branches, like artillery, infantry, all that. And at the end of it, it had a picture of Rangers. And it showed a picture of this guy with a rucksack that was like the size of a truck, and he was rappelling off a 200-foot rock face. And I was like, I want to do that. And so I got this idea just locked in my head, said, hey, I was going to do that. And I started yakking, telling everybody, because that's what I do, I talk. and my friend was like, yeah, you probably want to focus on like trying to stay alive at this point. But I was like, no, I got this. And that I had to realize a couple things. One is that your life isn't always in your hands. I think that as a soldier or as a sailor, as an airman, as a guardian, as a Marine, you realize that very quickly when you get a combat situation. But I had that realization before, because chemo or radiation treatment is going to work. It's not going to work. Cancer's taken a lot of good people that were a lot stronger than me, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. I can't sit here and say that I'm a better person or better man. I just got lucky like this. And then that really gave me like a lot of maturity, a lot of understanding to say, if you want to make it through something, you can't control the outcome. All you can do is control how you react to it. So you're never going to accomplish anything that you quit. And so I just had this mindset, is that I didn't care how much they were going to kick the tar out of us. I didn't care how much sleep I wasn't going to get. I didn't care how much I wasn't going to eat. I just wasn't going to quit.
I'm a firm believer of you'll become what you think about. And you've got an incredible story. And that's just, I'm not sure many people know that, but what an incredible story. But what brought you to Alabama?
That's a great question. So after I graduated from RIP, I went to 3rd Ranger Battalion, which was at Fort Benning. And then I started at Delta Company at 3rd Ranger Battalion, and this was when they had first formed. So all the Ranger Battalions at the time, you got to remember, this was during the surge. This was the height of global war on terrorism, the main push into Iraq. And so the military was expanding everywhere, and each Ranger Battalion had added an extra line company. And so I went straight to this company, and you're there. You're a young Ranger private, you've been in training for like months, and you finally get time off, and you're like, okay, you know what, I want to go try and get a date. And so I met my my wife at the time. She was actually an undergraduate at Auburn.
Good for her.
Yes, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle. Well, actually, in my position, I get to say War Eagle and Roll Tide.
Oh, okay. I
So,
got you. Absolutely.
But and so met her, and I was at Fort Benning for a very long time, and then I went to Alaska, and actually I got medically retired out of Alaska, and we ended up coming back to Auburn. So it was when I went to school and got my degree after I retired.
Fantastic. It's a great story. So, Drew, one of the things we hear quite a lot about recently, especially with this Alabama Veterans Resource Center, is, getting the transition right from the military service to the civilian service. Tell us about your journey in making that transition.
That's another long story, because I went from, in one day, getting ready to deploy. My unit was going to go to Kosovo, and then when I was going through the medical SRP, which I can't remember what SRP stands for anyways. So basically going through medical review, and I'd been diagnosed with AFib, with atrial fibrillation, and they wouldn't let me deploy. And then the Army was drawing down, so they started a med board on me. And then the same day I went from saying, hey, I'm going to stay in here for a career, to, well, you're going to get out of the Army. And so it was a whirlwind process. I know a lot of people go through that. Some people just ETS, or some people just gets dropped on them real quick. I think the benefit that I had is that I'd kind of developed contingency plans if something like that was going to happen, because I went through the same 5-day workshop that everybody else goes through on the lower enlisted side, and that was good, but it's like drinking from the fire hose. It's the best way I can explain it. It's that they throw a lot of stuff at you in a short period of time. And then at the time, some of the commands were just really, they wouldn't let you have the time to do what you need to do to transition out. And I think that was one big takeaway from it. But I knew that I wanted to go to school. I knew I wanted to get my degree, and I was very proactive about it. I think that when you get out of the military, you have to be proactive about what you want to do. Dave Ramsey has a saying, is that if you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time. So I know a lot of guys that got out and said, hey, I'm getting out just because I don't want to be here anymore. Okay, that's great. What happens after that? All right. And I feel like there's a lot of things, like there's developing, being able to communicate those skills you learned in the military to getting out on the civilian side. There's a lot of that. And then there's also a little bit of personal responsibility to say, hey, if you want to do something, you need to identify, hey, this is what I need to do. This is where I need to go. This is paperwork I need to fill out. I think it's really two-sided. I think that both sides could really do a better job.
So I noticed your wristband. Tell us the story.
These are actually two of my friends. They were killed in Afghanistan in 2010. April 23rd, 2010, Jay Santor and Ron Kubik. Ron, actually, he graduated from RIP the class before me, the month before me, and we all went to Delta Company together. And then Jay had been there for a couple years before me, and he was actually my roommate in the barracks. So if you're thinking, both these guys are from the New York area, Ron was from northern New Jersey, and Jay was from Long Island. So if you're thinking New York, in-your-face personalities, talking trash, that was both these guys. And Jay was a short, stocky dude. He was like juggernaut. It's the best way I can explain it. And he's the nicest guy, but he was a monster. If you look up the word ranger in the dictionary, it was these two guys. And they were killed doing what they were supposed to do. The first two guys in the door. And one of the guys in the room had armor-piercing rounds in his AK, and that was that. So, these guys are going to stay with me for forever.
That's a great way to remember your comrades. Thank you for the story. Thank you for telling us about that. So the reason we have you here is to talk about Operation Iron Ruck. We've got several veterans out in the audience, I'm sure, that may not know about Operation Iron Ruck. Well, just give us a brief overview of what Operation Iron Ruck's all about.
So Operation Iron Ruck was started in 2018. Student veterans from Auburn and from the University of Alabama got together and said, hey, too many of our friends are taking their own lives. Our focus is on veteran suicide. And so we said that we're going to do something about this. We used the Iron Bowl game as a platform, and we road march or ruck the game ball on 151 miles from the visiting team stadium to the home team stadium. So this year we're going to walk from Tuscaloosa to Auburn, and we deliver the game ball with the captains to the officials at the coin toss.
Fantastic. So what impact have you seen in working with Operation Iron Ruck and having participated in it and serving as the coordinator?
Well, the biggest reason I'm here is I have so many stories about the Ruck and what it does. The first story is really mine. So in 2018, when they started the first Ruck, I was doing an internship working out at a company in Iowa, and I was going through a divorce, and it was other than like combat situations, it was probably the toughest time of my life. The best way I can explain it is it almost feels like your emotional compass, like it just spins. There's no north. There's no point of reference. And I was doing it by myself. I was having a very hard time. And my friend Kyle Venable, who was the Auburn Student Veterans Association president, he called me up. He said, "Hey, we're going to road march from Auburn to Tuscaloosa for the Iron Bowl." And I was like, "Yes, I'm going." He's like, "Well, I didn't even tell you why we're doing it. I don't care. I'm going." And the first Ruck, it was only 23 people, and we had an RV. They really put it together at the last minute. I mean, but I'm going to tell you, it was the first time. So I had been out of the Army for 3 years before that. It was the first time that I felt like I had tribe again, because going back to the divorce thing, anybody that's been through a divorce, especially when kids are involved, knows how it kind of reaches inside of you and like plays with things and puts them back not the way they were, and then you kind of have to figure that part out on your own. And so I had felt like I had kind of lost my family, I lost my tribe, and then the Ruck gave me that tribe back. And so it filled something I didn't even know needed to be filled.
So how many participants do we have now, say, for example, for 2025?
So for 2025, we're planning on 150.
Wow.
So last year we had 97. And we have stories like that happen every year. We had 2 years ago, the day after the Ruck, one of the participants called me, said he was out on his land, and he had just taken the pistol out of his mouth because he was thinking about us and everything.
I recall
we
that
did.
story.
Yeah. And there was another story, this was 5 years ago, where there was a guy on the side of the road. We were walking, it was like 5:30 in the morning. And an older gentleman and a woman, they came out, they were at a farm, and they came out to the fence to talk to us, to see and ask us what we were doing. And he's like, "Oh, I'm retired from the Navy, that's awesome." So, obviously I'm an Army guy, we start talking trash, that's how it works. And he was like, "Hey, can I come with you guys?" And we're like, "Dude, come on." And so he ended up finishing the Ruck with us.
Wow. And
right before we finished the final 3 miles of the Ruck, the woman that was with him, and found out later, was his sister. And his sister came up to me and thanked me, and I was like, "For what? Like, why?" And she goes, "I'm down here because his wife had left him 3 months before that and taken their daughter, and he hadn't seen his daughter in 3 months, and his family was worried that he was going to do something to himself."
Yeah.
And so at the Ruck, we believe that the veteran, in order to get out, you need 3 things to really succeed: service, tribe, and purpose. We call it STP. And so the Ruck gives you that tribe. There's nothing that builds camaraderie like enduring mutual pain, I assure you. And I'm going to tell you what, when you're out there at like 03 on a Friday night, and you're walking together on like day 3, you're going to be feeling it. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
And so...
What's the total miles?
151.
Wow.
So it's broken up into 3 sticks. So if you do each step of your leg sticks, you're only going to do about, depending on which stick you're in, about 54, 56 miles. There's 3 miles at the beginning and at the end that everybody does when we leave Bryant-Denny Stadium this year. And then when we walk to Jordan-Hare on Saturday morning, those final 3 miles everybody does. And then the rest of it is broken into 7-mile legs. We have 3 sticks, red, white, and blue stick. It's kind of like a continuous relay. Like red stick will walk 7 miles, then white stick will come out, they'll walk 7, and then blue stick will come out after them and they'll walk 7. So you end up walking for about 2.5 hours, and then you'll have about 5 hours off.
So Operation Iron Ruck is going to continue, obviously, to grow in the future. It continues to grow each year. But for our veterans out in podcast land, what can they do to participate and to contribute?
That is a great question. So one is that if you want to come out and participate, you can go to operationironruck.com. There's a sign up to participate. That will put you on a tracker for me, and then I'll start sending you correspondence so you know where to be and when, what to have. If you can't participate, then that's fine. If you want to just come out and support, you can come out and volunteer. Like, we always need van drivers. We're always short of van drivers. If you want to support financially, you can do that. Or the biggest thing is reach out to your fellow veterans. So at this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to have you pull out your phone.
Okay.
And this is a new initiative that we have. It's called our Text a Vet initiative. So you can text a veteran and be the difference. So if you can't participate, that's fine. If you can't make it because it's over Thanksgiving, and that is one of the biggest family holidays. And so if you want to make a difference, this is the best way to make a difference. It takes about 15 seconds, and you can do it right now. So here's what I want you to do. We're going to text a veteran, pick any veteran you want.
Okay.
Someone that you may think is having a hard time, or someone that you haven't talked to in a while. You may not be tracking what's going on with them. Or if you have that person in your life that you always think is like that fixed point of reference, is unflappable, that's usually the person you need to check on too.
I've got someone ready to go.
Yeah.
And send them a text, huh?
Yep.
Check
and just send them a text message. Say, hey, thinking about you. Send them a picture, send them a meme, send them a joke, whatever. Just let them know, hey, I care about you, all right? And somebody's thinking about you today.
Very good.
Because in my personal opinion, I feel like veterans, to a certain extent, at the higher levels, get watered down into statistics. And I feel like in order to really make change, it's not about statistics. Statistics can help you, but at the end of the day, it's about developing relationships. And so in order to do this, you need to go out and talk to veterans.
Yeah.
Go everywhere.
I've brought this up before in the past. Our veterans that need any kind of help, one of the problems we have is that they're not reaching out and asking for help because of that stigma that's out there. And you know about that, I'm sure. What's your thoughts on that? How do we get our veterans to, it's okay to reach out for help?
Well, I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for myself, is that especially for me and my background, it's like, hey, you're an airborne ranger. Like, you don't quit. You don't complain. It doesn't matter how hard the situation is. Doesn't matter how bad it gets. Doesn't matter what else happens. You can handle it. And I was a weapons squad guy. So we carried the M240 Bravo, which is a belt-fed, air-cooled, gas-operated, fully automatic machine gun that fires from the open bolt position. Still remember that. I went through a whole lot of pain.
We don't have that in the Air Force.
Yeah. You guys have stuff that's a whole lot bigger.
That's right.
And so as a weapons squad guy, it's ingrained in you, hey, you carry the 240, you carry the ammo, and whatever happens, you have to be there and you have to have it ready to go. Like my first deployment, I was 205 pounds with just my PT gear on, with all my body armor, all the ammo I was carrying, because I was the assistant gunner. I weighed 332 pounds.
Wow.
And so I spent 5 months walking around the mountains of eastern Afghanistan doing that. And you have this idea, it's like, hey, mental toughness is what we do. You can't break because everybody else is looking at you. Everybody depends on you. And so everybody in the military gets that idea, says, hey, like, I have to carry all this. I have to carry this burden no matter what. And when you get out, that's not just a light switch. That's not a thought that you can turn off. It's a double-edged sword, because it's one of the reasons why veterans are so good, like, at performing in the workplace, because they can overcome adversity just because it's part of their mindset. But at the same time, mental health wise, it doesn't let you really open up. And so for me, I had to understand, hey, like, sometimes it's okay to hand the weight of the 240 off to one of your buddies. Say, hey, like, listen, I'm going to be real with you right now. This is what I got going on. You know, I have all these things that happen to me that I don't know what to do with. I don't know how to deal with them. I'm trying to deal with them in productive ways, but a lot of people can't do that. And I had problems with that too, because I had problems with alcohol and all kinds of other things. But the biggest thing is that people have to realize that when you talk to somebody, when you let those burdens down, when you open up, it actually shows how strong you are. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And so if you're watching this, if you're hearing this, just know that there's a lot of people out there that can help. Or if somebody that just wants to talk to you, just talk to somebody. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes you just got to listen. You know, you don't have to have multiple degrees to do this. And tomorrow can be better, but it's only going to be better if you're here. That's basically it.
Thank you, Drew, and thank you for sharing that and sharing your incredible story with your military service with the Army, Ranger Regiment, and also all you do for the Operation Iron Ruck. So in the past, anytime I go out and speak to veterans or to civilian groups, I get the question, especially as we approach Veterans Day or Memorial Day or Armed Forces Day. They want to know what the differences are between the three. And I always start with Armed Forces Day. The difference is Armed Forces Day is all about our military members that are still in service, still serving. Memorial Day are those service members who died in action. Veterans Day is for those veterans that served. So those are the three differences. But to you, Drew, why is Veterans Day so important?
I think that's a very, very good question. As far as why it's important, you know, for guys like us, and you said this before, like every day is Veterans Day.
Right.
You know. However, it's that one day where everybody else can take a breath, because there's a whole lot going on in everybody else's life, you know, and everybody's lives. And you can say, hey, like, this is one day where we're going to think about all the people that put on the uniform. You know, it's, you know, I mean, if you go back to the historical aspects of it, why is it on November 11th? Well, you know, I'll give you about 35 million reasons.
Yeah.
And about 15.5 million of them who passed away. Those are casualty amounts for World War I, because Veterans Day is on November 11th, the 11th month, the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, right, for a reason, because that's when they signed the armistice in World War I. And so I think that that's very significant, because it recognizes the sacrifice that obviously you're putting the ultimate sacrifice on the altar of freedom if you give your life for your country. However, for a lot of veterans out there, to kind of go back to what we've talked about, is that there are a lot of veterans that come home, and the things that you see and encounter and do in combat, a lot of those things stay with you for the rest of your life. And so there are a lot of people that put on the uniform out there that are still trying to tangibly deal with those things. And so Veterans Day is that one day to say, hey, like, there's somebody out there that may be having a hard time, you know? It kind of goes back to reaching out to a veteran, talking to them. You know, that one day, say, if we get everybody in America to reach out to a veteran, you know, what was it, 380 million people in the country, something like that? 380 million text messages in one day. Say, hey, just thinking about you, man. Just make sure you're doing okay. Really make a difference. So
we got a question from the audience from the last podcast we did, and one of the questions I had is there anything special that we do personally, you and I, for Veterans Day? And for me, it goes back to my enlisted time with the Air Force Air National Guard. Mm-hmm. I was selected to be a driver for a Mr. Raymond Weeks.
Okay.
Mr. Raymond Weeks is the father of Veterans Day, which got its start in Alabama.
Oh,
I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, sir, I did not.
Veterans Day got its start in Birmingham, Alabama. Mr. Weeks, a World War II veteran, went to then 5-star General Dwight D. Eisenhower and offered the idea of changing Armistice Day to Veterans Day. And Birmingham, Alabama started their National Veterans Day Parade in 1947. And then when General Eisenhower became President Eisenhower, he actually made it the official Veterans Day, and the official location got its start in Birmingham, Alabama. But in 1982, as a young E3, can you imagine that? Young E3 with hair.
Yep.
You know, I was asked to be the driver for Mr. Raymond Weeks about 2 years before he passed away. So taking him back and forth to the different events in Birmingham. And to this day, we just completed it. Have the National Veterans Day Awards Banquet that I attend each year. I've been attending it just about every year. Had a couple of years that I was deployed and couldn't attend. But I try to make it every single year. But a lot of our veterans and a lot of our civilians don't understand that Veterans Day got its start in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That is, you see, this is what I love about this, is that it's all about stories, it's about relationships, right?
Right.
So it's personal to you for that because, you know, you have a direct connection to how it started.
Right.
You know, for me, honestly, I kind of feel inadequate because all I do is I throw on a heavy rucksack and I go for a road march.
That's cool.
Because, you know, rucking is my thing. It's how I like to stay fit. I like to stay physically fit. It's kind of how I deal with certain things, and so I always put on a road march. But yeah, your story was way better.
That's
than
cool.
mine.
Yeah, I like to try to share that story.
That is cool.
That was, you know, over 40 years ago, and I still remember it to this day. And that's something I cherish, going to those Veterans Day award banquets up in Birmingham and marching in the parade on the next day. So it's fantastic. But Drew, thank you, my friend. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
It's been
Appreciate
fantastic having you. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for what you do for veterans, and thank you for being that coordinator for Operation Iron Ruck. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's a labor of love. You know, 4 years ago, God gave me a mission to help veterans, and that's what I'm doing.
Here you are. Thanks again for all you do.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.